Hello again. Something that older viewers might have noticed is that the weather in this country is no longer regarded as just one of those unpredictable facts of life which must be endured, as was once the case. These days it is seen as a direct consequence of the wickedness and profligacy of the human race in general, a sign that the wrath of God will soon descend upon us because we have dared to heat our homes with electricity and gas. This puts one in mind, of course, of the punishment which Prometheus received from the gods for bringing down fire from heaven and giving it to the human race so that they could cook their food and keep their homes warm. Strangely enough, all this freak weather that we read about seems to come pretty much as one would expect it. That is to say, in the usual seasons. Summer is often sunny and dry, autumns are windy and wet, and so on. We are assured, though, that it never used to be this way before the 20th century, and that industrialisation is to blame. This is usually proved, or so we are supposed to believe, by the fact that our autumns are now far more windy than was once the case, and our summers hotter and drier. Not a year passes without some record being broken. Take May 2020, during the first lockdown. It was a very warm and dry month, as May sometimes is, and the Meteorological Office in London claimed it was the driest May that there had ever been in England, and of course blamed it on climate change. I give a link to this in the description to this video. The Met Office said that increasing temperature associated with climate change will also play a role in the above average spring temperatures. The latest climate projections for the UK suggest spring will tend to become sunnier on average in the future, but that a spring like that of 2020 would still be considered extreme even by 2100. Further analysis is needed to determine the role of climate change on events like spring 2020. So May 2020 was quite significant as an indicator that Britain's weather was changing, and that even in 100 years' time, May 2020 would stand out as being very unusual. Actually, of course, this is not at all true, which can be seen by looking at the Met Office's own archives. All the handwritten records from the early Victorian period are being digitised and then uploaded, and very surprising some of them are too. The driest May ever recorded in England was not 2020 at all, but actually 1844. I give a link in the description to this video to a news item about this. Other supposed records broken in our modern era of climate change are also being broken by discoveries now being made about the weather in Victorian England. This is quite amusing because the levels of greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide in 1844 were negligible. Those extreme weather events in 1844 can't really be blamed upon man-made climate change. It rather looks as though those freak weather events, which are constantly being held up as a symptom of global warming, are really just how the weather has always been. Sometimes warm and dry in May, and with October and November being windy and wet.